When I was 7, my father was teaching me how to cross-country ski on a local trail. We enjoyed a snowy day together, but this old man stopped and asked, "Why are you teaching him to ski? There won't be any snow when he grows up."
Little longer strokes, there you go.
Despite what that old guy said, I love skiing, and I have my entire life. The thought of not having snow becomes more and more threatening each time winter comes around. One of the main contributors to this global climate crisis, the agriculture industry.
People around the world are looking for ways to address the climate crisis.
Climate change.
Changes in the climate.
The impact of climate change on food security.
Last year we had like 6 weeks with no rain.
We are hurtling toward the day when climate change could be irreversible.
Rising sea levels already altering this nation's coast.
I've spent a lot of time chasing snow in the Adirondacks of upstate New York. And surprisingly enough, the region has also witnessed a remarkable farming boom in the last decade or so. The farms here are actually helping transform agriculture from part of the problem into part of the solution. I traveled back to learn as much as I could about their natural sustainability efforts. Hi, Bill. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I was out, may have gotten the last ski of the year in at Breadloaf this morning. We'll see.
Really? Nice.
Let's talk about what I really know about is climate change, and I can sort of the context for where we are. New forms of agriculture can help on both ends. We can certainly grow food using less fossil fuel than we're doing at the moment. But probably more importantly, we can try and figure out how to grow food in ways that produces soils that are sequester more carbon than methane. You have to be able to think and innovate in order to be at all successful in a place like the Adirondacks as a farmer.
I love working here in the Adirondacks. I love living here. You know, I have a good number of farmers that just live right here. We're all in this together with the same passions and the same sort of desire to make the world a better place. And so being part of that is pretty amazing.
When we got here about 10 years ago, the sort of small and young farm community was really burgeoning, and so we were a part of that, and it just feels like it's grown and just continuing to evolve and create this scene around food. So this cheese is called Dutch Knuckle, and this is the one that we make the most of. It's a raw milk cheese. It's made in the cheese vat, and then it gets brined for 4 days, and then it makes its way into this cave. I could tell you exactly how to make the cheese that we make, and you could never make this cheese because it's specific to this place. It's specific to our cows and this soil, and I love that depth of the story.
Adirondack farmers have noticed some extreme changes in their seasonal weather patterns. They fight with unpredictable conditions that challenge their crop yields and their farming practices.
"350 parts per million CO2 is the most we could safely have in the atmosphere, and we're at 420 parts per million right now."
The one big challenge that I've seen in 42 years of keeping bees is the way in which the climate has changed. The weather has become so erratic. It's particularly hard on the honeybee based on their biology. We have a window of approximately 6 weeks to really make a honey crop. The bees have a wider window to do what they need to do to prepare for the following winter. A honeybee is focused on two things: survival and storing up enough food to get through the following winter. And when the weather, as a result of changes in the climate, throw curveballs at them, sometimes they don't do so well. The climate has been a huge challenge, probably greater challenge to me than the parasites that were introduced years ago. We can breed for resistance. Breeding for changes in the climate is a bigger challenge and may take more than just a few decades.
Farming is exquisitely dependent on the weather operating as it has in the past. That's no longer a good bet. Our seasons are shifting dramatically. The number of extreme weather events and their intensity is shifting rapidly.
So I've found only shortly in the last 10 years that the weather patterns have shifted a month. It's hard to plant spring wheat in 2 feet of snow. And then on the backside, September used to be, for hay-wise, that's it. You're not haying anymore. Well, now the last few years, we've been haying all the way up in October. We're having longer, hotter days in October compared to when my father was doing it 30 years ago. When it hit October, you were done haying. More violent storms and more extreme, like last year was a drought. This year, I haven't seen 3 days of dry weather in a row, so.
At the root of all sustainable farming practices happening in the Adirondacks is the restoration of soil health.
Soil is not gravel or dirt. Soil has got millions and billions of living organisms. The health of the soils is central to the health of the plants, which is central to the health of the animals that you put on the property. They say it's not the cow, but it's the how. And it's how we raise the animals on this farm that is the most important.
Traditional models of farming use tractors. So there wouldn't be any fencing here. They would just come in and harvest feed. And so systems like that, in order to put the fertility back on, because everything you take off the farm, you're taking minerals and nutrients out of your soil. Whatever it is, it has to be trucked. There's energy consumed in all of these processes. And what we're doing out here, we've put in the fencing and have been doing the rotational grazing. The biggest sort of reward I see firsthand the healing that rotational grazing has done. The cattle are doing the harvesting, they're doing the storage, they're doing the fertility all themselves. So the net usage is pretty phenomenal.
It's been highly inspiring to watch the farmers really start challenging some of the paradigms of American agriculture, figuring out new ways to market, figuring out new ways to grow, and to some extent anyway, grappling with these problems around carbon sequestration in soil. These are all important experiments, but one of the most important experiments that's happening there is the recreation of vivid and vital farm communities, where there's enough density of people doing interesting work that they can help each other and feed off each other. And that's been one of the most inspiring lessons coming out of that part of the world.
There was not too many years ago, 100 years ago, it was like 80 or 90% of people were involved in agriculture. And there was that direct relationship they had with food production and the food system as a whole, whether they were delivering milk in a milk cart or if they were pitchforking hay up onto a hay wagon. I think as a nation particularly, we have focused on the industrialization and almost chosen to disconnect from the food source. I think the biggest change for our food system that would have the best bang for the buck would be for people to connect with where their food comes from.
The people of the Adirondacks have not only learned to sustain, but to heal their land. while helping to preserve the magic of winter that has shaped my life and so many others.
Can we make a deal? We're running out of time. You can rule illumination if we can keep the night. And you can turn the sun away, paint the moon in blood. If we can do what we do best, we're nocturnal light. And another thing, we did the best we could. Don't know about you, but that must be good. And you can turn the sun away, wrap the moon in ice. If we can do what we do best.
All right, I'll see you on the slopes at some point.